Hello, welcome everybody. Let's wait a little bit for people. Hello, welcome. Let me send you invitation for you. I'm already sent. Hello, Mari. Hello, Leandro. Welcome, Pedro. Welcome. So Lohan is here already. While we wait for people to join us here, first, I would like to say that this is the first live that I'm doing with the Facebook at the same time. So I hope we don't have any technical problem. So please, I ask you to understand that. Hello, Rico. Rico is there. So while we wait people to join us, I will just introduce Lohan, who is already here. So Lohan Kababi is a coach, a keynote speaker, a former CFO of Louis Vuitton South America. With over more than 20 years of international corporate experience, namely working in luxury retail for 10 years in 3 countries, more importantly, he considers himself a professional nomad who has traveled to almost 40 countries, lived in 5, and is still planning to continue roaming the world, collecting stories and experiences. Lohan was born in Lebanon and then moved to Australia in his teens to pursue his education, where he eventually decided to make Australia his new home. Lohan has received intensive Class A coaching and NLP development that enable him to start his own mentoring coaching model that offers intense breakthrough as well as sustainable changes. Lohan enjoys public speaking engagements as well as writing business and self-improvement blogs as part of giving back to the community. So welcome, Lohan.
Hey, how is everyone? Good to see you. It's the first time I go live as well. So it's a new experience for me and for you.
That's right. So I have so many questions for you, but looking through your career, I know that you were a chef, then you worked into the auto industry and worked as a CFO for a luxury company. And now you are a keynote speaker. So there are so many different paths for such a young person like you. And I would like to know, how did you succeed in all these careers and still have the willing to teach people to be motivated and to become better persons? Where did this desire come from?
When you say succeed with my career, I guess this is what you see on the surface, basically. But underneath that, there was a lot of obviously struggles and fails that I have to go through in order for me to get to where I got to. I wasn't born with a golden spoon in my mouth, or I haven't attended Class A education when I was younger, obviously. So I pretty much started from scratch. In fact, when it comes to education, I was almost on the average always. But the desire to help people, or for me to kind of become a coach and a mentor, I guess that started with the fact that I was able to identify my values in life, basically. So what am I talking about here? All of us have values, and the values constitute or makes up the DNA of us. This is our DNA, or our blueprint. So depending on your values, if you are doing something consistent with your values, then you will be feeling fulfillment. If you're doing something that is not pretty much consistent with your value, then you'll be feeling something is missing, or you're not 100% in line with your purpose in life, so to speak. So in my case, after I have gone through the coach training and that intense kind of a soul searching exercise, so to speak, I was able to identify that some of my values are to kind of contribute and to influence and support people, so to speak. And that wasn't completely showing up for me when it comes to working in the corporate. So this is when I started having that conflict within me. So in my last 2 years of being in the corporate, I started actually feeling that kind of resistance inside of me that, okay, I've got this yin and the yang. There's something missing over here, which is, I needed to go out and start something on my own. So I wanted to create something new, become an entrepreneur, give myself this opportunity, and at the same time contribute to communities and contribute to other people, for them to become better version of themselves, so to speak. And that's how I decided to walk away from corporate, in fact. And that's how the desire to teach and help and mentor people started in me, so to speak.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all this. It's amazing trajectory. So I think people are amazed with your story. So since you already mentioned all this, could you share with us a little bit where you had hands-on experience with dealing with fear, risk, and procrastination, and also you already told a little bit, but some milestones in your life, because the topic is how to become a better version. So please.
Yeah. No, thanks for the good question, actually. For people to kind of understand my background, I obviously had my share with the fear. In fact, I was born in an environment that is completely controlled by fear. I was born in a war-ridden country, and I remember at the age of 13, if I'm going to be going from point A to point B, I have to go through landmines. So that's the extent of fear that I have, endured when I was younger. And at the same time, I had this desire, this kind of will that I wanted to get out of the country that I was born in, because I wanted to become an international person. So going back to values, that was from early days one of my values. So I wanted to do that, and getting out of my comfort zone or getting out of my home country where I was born already was a fear, and I have taken a lot of time to procrastinate and to go to finally decide. And when I did that, I left Lebanon and I came to Australia. Now, fast forward, I wanted to want to make Australia my home. And there as well was also a milestone in my life where I could not manage to do that because of the qualification that I had. So eventually I became resourceful and I decided to become a cook, a chef. And I end up working in restaurants and learning how to become one. So it's not a bad skill to have. But at the same time, it took a lot of risk for me to do that, because there was no guarantee that this could work and I could manage to stay here. But eventually I took the risk, I took the plunge, and I went through that blockage that I had in my head, and I gave it everything that I could. And I think that's what matters. And eventually that became my country. And then I had another milestone, which I started my career, and the last job that I had in Brazil, I was working for Toyota International, and I wanted to become an international person, so continue my expatriation journey. That was not possible. So I had a secure job with a lot of perks, and everything was kind of I was in my bubble, so to speak. And I wanted to become an international person, and that wasn't possible through the company, because they didn't had connection with different affiliates outside of the country. So I had to take the risk on my own. So I didn't take that risk, because as you start growing in your career and you start climbing up the corporate ladder, eventually you will, it becomes harder for you to kind of step out of your comfort zone and change careers or change country, let alone change industry. But after several years, the conflict inside of me once more started growing. I do want to become an international person, but I don't want to do that because it's safer to be where I am right now. So eventually I end up taking that leap of faith and stepping out of my comfort zone. And I went on my own to a new country, found a job, and started with Louis Vuitton at that time in Dubai. And talking about becoming an international person, I end up living in 5 countries in total. So they say, careful what you wish for, right? And eventually the last kind of milestone for crossing the line of fear in my case and procrastination is what I've done recently, which is stepping out of corporate again with Louis Vuitton. After 10 years of relationship in 3 countries, I decided to walk away and start my own venture, so to speak. And that came after a lot of procrastination, several years, for me to work out what I want and what I need. And I guess that journey of working out what I want and what I need was part of the learning that I had. Because right now, the clients and the people that I'm mentoring and I'm working with, I get to help them understand what they want and what they need through the journey that I have done. And that's how I end up creating my own model. And in fact, I get to utilize as well the the model related to they call it ikigai, which is a Japanese concept for reason for being.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. I think many people I identify themselves with you, and I'm sorry. Um, I'm just correcting here my camera also because this is the first time that I'm doing this with the Facebook together with the Instagram, and it's kind of hard because sorry,
It's a
we had to set the
technical difficulty.
camera.
It's okay.
Technical problem. Sorry. And I would like to say hi to. I know that some people here, my friend from US is watching us, and also, Olija, hello. Um, I asked my friend just to copy paste the questions that probably will appear on Facebook because since we are using another program to do this, Facebook with the Instagram, we cannot see what is going on Facebook. So people who are watching us, sorry if I didn't say hi because we cannot see you yet. So that's why she will, this is incredible life and all these stories. I think what you just shared with us must be very inspiring, and many people would identify, as I said, and probably some people thought about this before of changing, but it is something that is very hard to do. This step, this is another question, but so please feel comfortable to interact with us, to send questions. We receive everything here from the Instagram, and I'm so sorry for some technical problems. Okay, so just to explain, I'm sorry, Laurent. We can continue now. So now that you already talk about these, then what are the main blockages of people that prevent them from growing and end up sabotaging themselves? Can
Right.
you tell us about
So
this a little bit?
yeah, I mean, where do I start, right? I, I guess the most the biggest thing that comes to my mind, Akimi, is what I call the limiting belief system or the negative belief system. What does that mean? A belief system is a belief that we have based on past experience. It's a belief that we have based on past experience. So if we have a obviously good past experience, we would have a positive belief system. If we have a traumatic past experience in our life, or a kind of a negative one, you're going to have a negative belief system. So what happened is that most of people, most of you, everyone, we have experiences that are coming from the past, since our childhood, since our school days, adolescence, when we were being during our upbringing, and someone would say something to us, or an incident happen, or something that would happen that would lead us to believe something that may not be true about us. And that becomes a story in our head. That becomes a story about how it, like, I am, just give an example to illustrate, I am not good in academics. So therefore, anytime I'm going to be doing anything to do with like a test or anything like that, I'm going to fail, so I am average. That's a belief that I have about me. I have come across people that have believed that they are not good enough, or they are not worthy of love, or they don't deserve success, for example, or they don't deserve to be happy in a relationship. So whatever beliefs, traumatic experience that people have had in the younger age or in earlier days, that becomes the negative belief system. Now, what happens normally is that people equate the past to the present, and unfortunately to the future. What people need to realize, and going back to your question, what is the blockages that people can come across, so to speak, is that the blockage is that people bring their past, the story of their past, into their present and into their future, basically. And this is where the problem is, because imagine that you are driving forward to the highway of your future, and you're looking at the rear view mirror the whole time, and you could eventually crash. And that's what end up happening. So that's really one of the main blockages that I can think about, that get people to sabotage themselves, so to speak, and
Okay.
sabotage their progress.
Yeah. Well, it's not that simple as you mentioned. It's very
No,
complicated
no, not
and
at all. Not at all.
okay. So the next question would be so it's related to what you just answered now, but let's go a little bit further, deeper, I mean. So why do you think it's so difficult to change a custom, break a pattern, and what is the more important to be able to take the first step? What is the more important thing to be able to take the first step?
Yeah. So as you know, Akemi, I am, I like to think that my specialization, and my focus point, at least, is procrastination and fear. And I guess what makes people kind of what blocks people to break a pattern, basically, or to change a custom, so to speak, is obviously procrastination. Now let's break down procrastination. What is the source of procrastination? Research have showed that under each procrastination there is a negative emotion. So just think about it. Everyone who is participating right now, everyone who have actually a topic that he's procrastinating about, think about a desire, think about a goal that you want to achieve, and try to think about something big, like, I don't know, changing career, or moving countries, or some kind of a desire, or something that you want to achieve, but you have been procrastinating about. You would realize that under this desire, there is always a negative emotion attributed to that desire. So when you feel that negative emotion, eventually what end up happening, the brain, our subconscious, takes us to a place where we end up doing a different action than this action, because behind every negative emotion, the brain senses threat. It senses that, okay, there's something uncomfortable that is going to happen. And the brain's job, especially the subconscious or the auto mode that we have in us, is to protect us, is to avoid any discomfort, is to avoid any experience that would make us feel basically uncomfortable. So what ends up happening is that you have a goal, you have a desire that you want to achieve, you have a negative emotion that attributed to that. Your brain tells you, no, don't do that, don't cross that line, just go do something else, I don't know, Netflix or something like that. And that's basically what end up happening. That's what actually makes it difficult for people to kind of break a custom that they have. Now, the other part that you mentioned, which is how to break the pattern, to break the pattern is to actually make this auto mode shut off and bring the whole experience to your conscious or your frontal lobe, so to speak. So we're going from the limbic system to the frontal lobe. And what I mean by that is that when your brain senses a negative emotion behind some kind of a procrastination or a custom that you have, obviously unfavorable custom that you have a negative emotion, therefore you go do something that you're not supposed to do. You do something else, you procrastinate. And for you to kind of break that pattern, you need to be able to know how to, like I said, move that auto mode to a conscious mode, so to speak. Now, how to do that may be the question. There is many ways to do that. And one of the ways I could think about, for example, is if you are, for example, journaling. Some people make a pause and count from 5 to 1. In fact, there was a research that was done on this. There was a science is that when you are counting backward, you are able to actually activate your frontal lobe, because you're not used to counting backward. You're always used to count from 1 to 5, not from 5 to 1, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of science behind that, and it's very interesting. There was also, for example, they call it the wheel of emotion. The wheel of emotion is another way to, and what it is, it's like it's a wheel which has all kind of emotion, and it's so interesting because you would be able to detect what kind of emotion you are feeling right now, and by detecting what kind of emotion you are feeling right now, it takes you backward, or backward on what could be the source emotion of that. So, for example, if I'm feeling right now anxious, it might be because if I track it down, it might be because I'm afraid or there was a fear. Then you ask yourself a question, hang on a second, what's the fear that I'm feeling? Why am I feeling afraid? And that's how you'll be able to kind of pause and think, what is going on here with me? And when you realize that there's something not right, I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm not doing this, I'm doing that, then you can ask the question, what is my choice? What do I want to choose? Do I want to do this or do I want to do that? Now, the other part that you mentioned, which is also important, is what is how people can make a movement.
The first
basically.
step, yes.
The first step.
Yeah,
And
step.
the first step is actually to make a movement, and that's pretty much the. So they say, the law of physics say that if you make a movement, you create energy. When you move, you create energy. When you create energy, you create momentum. When you create momentum, you create traction. So the moment you start moving, you do something towards that thing that you are procrastinating about, automatically there is an action is being done. So automatically you are starting to create a momentum, you are starting to create traction. Now, the other bit is I have my own, I've created a model of overcoming procrastination and crossing the line of fear, where one of the components of the model is to actually have awareness of what you are doing. So breaking the pattern, making a movement, I guess they are one of the first steps that needs to be taken, so to speak.
Okay. Well, such a good explanation. My God, it's like a class.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all this explanation. Let me just. Oh, so Sue is saying thank you so much for sharing this story with us. So thank you for organizing. Okay, many other people are they enter. Thank you very much. Let me just check if there is an okay.
What's happening with our Facebook friends?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because this is quite new. Many people don't know that it's possible to do lives using Facebook. That's why I'm kind of lost here, because we have to look at two cameras, and usually people started doing these lives only on Instagram. So maybe it could be that. So
technology.
so you know that I love to watch all your webinars.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed very much. And so I heard you speak about naming your fear on your webinars. And
Mhm.
so why is this so important to name the
Mm.
fear?
Mm. Um, what I mean by name the fear here is I'm talking about, in fact, I'm talking about the first step of overcoming procrastination. So we spoke about awareness, and we spoke about breaking the pattern. I guess one of the steps that goes in parallel with that is similar to how I was talking before. I was talking about the fact that underneath each underneath each procrastination task, goal, whatever you have to achieve, basically there is negative emotion. We said that before. Now, below this negative emotion, or the source of that negative emotion, in most cases is a fear. In most
Mhm.
cases is a fear. So that's actually what makes the what makes the people not move forward, which is because of this long time, or most of the cases people have been procrastinating about something for some time, and they always constantly incorporate that negative emotion. Below it there will be also that fear. And it's important for you to identify what is the fear that you are experiencing, because when you identify what is the fear that you are experiencing, you would know the source of the problem. Because the source of the problem, which is the fear and the negative emotion, might be coming from a specific moment in your life. Most of the clients that I work with, that I deal with, in fact, I go back and try to work with them through this process, and we get to identify that most of the cases it started from childhood. Most of the cases it started from whether adolescence or at home, whether with parents, relationship with sibling, and that is in most cases what has been causing this actually this fear or this negative emotion. So that's why it's important to kind of name your fear, because that helps you to know the source of where is this whole thing coming from.
Yeah, this is totally psychological, and I think
Yeah,
everyone who is listening here already know what is your real fear and maybe can already name it.
I'm actually
Yes.
I'm actually will be happy to, for anyone from the audience, if they want to propose or ask a question related to their procrastination. I'll happy to kind of jump in right now with them, and try to kind of talk through that on the chat.
Okay, so please feel free to ask any questions for Lohan. And so while we wait a little bit for someone to ask something, Leia, hi Leia. Leia, she came here and she asked, "What is this talk about?" Oh, Leia, we are talking about how to become better version of yourself. So welcome and enjoy our conversation. Hi,
Hi
Sandra.
there.
Sandra just
Uh-huh.
just arrived. Also, welcome. So, if well, so okay. Oh, Monica. Hello, Monica. Monica, we have someone from Spain also. So we have Spain and US. Thank you for watching us. Okay, so I think there is no question yet. So let's move on, and then please feel free if someone asks something, I will stop and ask. Okay. Hello, Artur, Andre. Okay, hello. So let's continue. The next question is related more to this moment we are all passing through, which is the pandemic because of the corona. So I would like you to maybe give a suggestion of how people can manage their mental state during this time now and after.
Mhm. Um, you know, the corona or the pandemic, what we are going through right now, is a typical circumstances for people to feel fear and uncertainty, right? Um, we don't know
Totally.
what's going on. There was a saying that I always use. I say, if you wanna make God laugh, tell him about your plans. You know, if you wanna make God laugh, tell him about your plans. So actually, it's a kind of a almost like an experiment that everyone is going through, something that we never had in our life, something that we never experienced in our lifetime, basically, and hopefully will not happen again. Everyone have his own speculation, everyone have his own theory, everyone, is giving his own opinion. But what is happening with all of us, with all of you out there, is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. But in this moment, when you need to actually work through that, we need to be standing. This is an expression that I heard before from Tony Robbins. He used to say, "You need to stand guard of your mind. You need to stand guard of the gate of your mind. So whatever you are getting into your mind, and whenever it's coming out of your mind, more so what's coming in, you need to be mindful of that. You need to be careful of that." So having a right mental sanity, a clean mental state, so to speak, is extremely important. This is the time where you have to go out there and start understanding what would potentially happen, or what is it that you could do in order for you to pivot from the space that you are in right now. So what do I mean by that? Um, for example, they say not for example, in fact, it's a fact. Back in the global financial crisis, which is the closest thing that compare to what we have had right now. So we talk about 2008, 2009, is when most of the large companies that today we have in the world have been created. So, for example, WhatsApp has been created during the financial crisis. Uber, Airbnb, Venmo. These are the main companies that I can think about that were actually launched during the financial crisis. So there was someone sitting while everyone is freaking out during the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, when there was someone somewhere sitting and trying to create something new, something that would actually get people to use and to anticipate the future, so to speak. So what people should be doing right now, they should be going out there and thinking about opportunity. This is the time where they have to think about their vision, the vision of how things would look like, and then take the risk, and then take the risk by actually going ahead and implementing something and starting something if they actually believe in it. Now what need to be happening in the background is you need to maintain the right foundation and the right structure in order for you to progress, and in order for you to actually go ahead and have the courage in order for you to take the risk. What do I mean by that? When I speak about foundation and when I speak about structure, people need to have a strong discipline. Discipline helps people to be able to have clarity in their mind when it comes to assertiveness and making decision. They'll be able to make stronger and better decision. When it comes to being emotionally stable, it helps you to become emotionally stable as well. So there is all kind of things that actually discipline can help with. In terms of community, you need to have the right community. So this is all the work that people need to do during this time for them to avoid the fear and procrastination and that sensation of risk. So have the right community. If you're going to have toxic people around you that are always talking about the negative news, bringing things that are really kind of uncomfortable and makes you increase that level of fear that you have inside of yourself, that's not going to help. You need to have positive people. You need to have ambitious people. You need to have people that are looking at life the same way you are looking at it. They say you are the average of the 5 closest people that you have in your life. You are the average of the 5 closest people that you have in your life. The way they think, the way they anticipate, the way they behave, everything and anything, basically. So this is another thing. And instead of you thinking about how can I protect myself in this pandemic and this fear and this risk environment, of course, you do the necessary. for you to protect yourself physically, right? But mentally, you need to have that mindset of going out there and finding the opportunity. Because in this whole mess that we have right now, this is the time where you can go and find opportunity. What is happening in the market? Where are the missing links that you could potentially fill up, the gap that you could fill up? They speak about, for example, right now, the new normal is going to become all on the internet. The new normal is going to become on the web. So, for example, companies we will not be as much using commercial spaces, meaning people going physically to a building, to the office, and start doing their work. So, what could be an opportunity behind that? What could be an opportunity behind that? I'm sure someone somewhere out there that's going to be thinking about, okay, so if people, it's like an equation, if people are not going to work anymore in terms of physical space and they're going to be going online, what is it that I can do in order for me to create a business around that gap that is being created? So this is a gap, and you need to go out there and fill up that gap. And the
I
last, does that make sense?
Sorry. Yes, totally. No, I was just saying that I totally agree with you. And I just read an article saying that, for example, the hotels, they are suffering a lot with this. And now they are starting to change and offer the rooms. They turn into office. So that's
There
the
you
thing
go.
they found to survive, because
You
nobody's
need to
traveling
do it.
anymore. The hotels are empty, so
Yeah.
that's the way they're starting this. So sorry, you continue,
No,
and we have one question here. Okay, so just for you to know, we
no
have one
problem.
question for you. Okay.
Sure. So still on the pandemic thing. So we spoke about, first of all, stand guard of your mind. Try to understand what is going into your mind and avoid the toxic. Work on your discipline. Work on your community, so to speak. And at the same time, you need to actually understand that, right, this is a time of fear. This is a time of risk, but you don't want to focus on that. You want to focus on the opportunity. So go out there, see what are the gaps, what are the gaps that are being created in the market, and how could you fill in that gap, and how could you be able to kind of pivot from that gap. That's going to take a lot of knowledge of your skills, what you are able to do, and what's the market is willing to pay for. And even if it's not something that they are paying for right now, they could be paying for in the future. Because my dear, listener or audience, like I said to you, there was a lot of things that before it never used to be something that someone will be paying for. Now they are paying for it. So that's what you gotta be anticipating, and that's what you're gonna be, trying to understand. And the last thing I wanted to say, which is what I mentioned before, start taking action. Start moving. Do something. Don't sit and be a victim. That's the last thing you want to do, basically. And I guess that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You will one thing I want to say. You will find a lot of people that have lost their job potentially. You will find a lot of people that potentially have lost their business, or they have lost a lot of money. And these people, I hear it, and I understand, and I'm in the same boat. Basically, I just transitioned from corporate, and here is the corona right now. But the thing is, you might feel that a lot more uncertainty than other people, and you might feel that you are rowing against the tide. But the one thing that you gotta keep in mind, that you are sitting on a mountain of talents, mountain of skills that can be commercialized. This is one thing, especially in my case, and when I was stepping out of corporate, to my experience, my job was come in the morning, do the job that I do, whether looking at the financial statement, or I'm doing some analysis, or doing some meeting, or IT related issues, or tax issues, or whatever, and go home. Beyond that, of course, you can think about strategic stuff, some extra curriculum stuff. That's fine. But for after 10 years of working in the same company, let's say, I know what it is. I go on auto mode. I can even do my job without even thinking about it. But then when you step out of that, then you start thinking to yourself, well, what I'm gonna do? I mean, this is what I'm gonna do. And you start thinking about the things that are immediate to what you were doing before, the transactional stuff. Like, I can do a business that would incorporate a P&L. I could do a business that would incorporate a financial statement, or whatever it is. But then you start thinking about other things that you could do that you were using in your life, outside of your job and inside of your job. If you gather all of these, you could create a value that you can actually offer to the market, and the market will be willing to pay for that. And the
Yeah.
market will be willing to pay for that. So that's,
Perfect.
that's for the people that are actually, in that uncertainty space.
Yeah, very good answer. Thank you very much. So let's see here, Pedro. Hi, Lohan. Thanks for this live, and thank you, Akemi, too. I sometimes more often than I should procrastinate on making phone calls to the referrals I receive from my clients. Feel like sort of bothering and and leaving that for later. What would you suggest to overcome that? Thank you.
Uh, Pedro, tudo bom? Nice to meet you. Look, the first thing that comes to my mind following that the cycle that I speak about is try to understand what is the negative emotion. What is the negative emotion, Pedro, below that fact that you leave it for later? So that leave it for later, this is when you are procrastinating. So you were supposed, you know that the right thing, that the right thing is to pick up the phone and call, because it's gonna be good for your, it's gonna be good for your obviously business, right, or whatever you're doing. But then you think that no, I'm gonna leave it for later, and that leave it for later business is when the negative emotion is being, is kind of controlling that procrastination. Where is that negative emotion, and what's the fear below that? What is the negative emotion, and what's the fear below that negative emotion? So if I don't know you, I don't know what's the situation or your background or your story, but to my experience from the people that I have come across, if there is circumstances similar to that, people will be afraid of rejection or will be afraid of failure. In fact, more than 80% of all fears comes from the basis of fear of failure. There was a study that was done not long ago, and I shared it in the last webinar. They say people are more afraid of failure than they are afraid of ghosts. In fact, a study that was done. In fact, a study that was done in
That's
the
very
U.S.
funny.
And it was published in the LA Times, and they were saying that over 1,000 participants, 31% have said that they are afraid of failure, compared to 9% they said they are afraid of ghosts. So imagine that, imagine that. So going back to Pedro and to answer his question, I guess the best thing and the first thing that you should do right now, and you've already done the right thing, which is jumping on this call and asking this question, because you know that this is something that is bothering you. And I'm happy to connect with you outside of this if you want, see how I can support you. So is to identify what's the negative emotion behind that and what is the fear. Once you identify the fear, then the work starts with actually understanding the root of this fear, the basis of this fear. Is it coming from a traumatic experience? Is it coming from childhood? And where else did that show up?
Okay. Thank you for your answer. I hope you like the answer, Pedro. Yahweh also, she wrote something here. She said that her family owns hotel business, and luckily now they are accommodating doctors and nurses. Wow, paid by the government. I am so glad. Even occupani in lower than before. Yes. So she wrote lower than before. Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing this, Yahweh. So continuing, so related to the webinars also, I heard you say everything that you ever want is in the other side of fear, because we are talking so much about fear. What does that mean, the other side of the fear?
Yeah, interesting concept here, because the model that I have created, you imagine that you have a circle, and on top of the circle is your comfort zone. So this is where you are comfortable. This is where you are doing everything, and you are in control of everything, basically. Then at some point you get a desire in your life. We all have that, this goal that we want to achieve, this thing that we want to do, this desire basically. And when you get that desire, if there is some risk that that you're going to be taking, that some risk that you're going to be incorporating, basically what end up happening is that the desire that you have will be confronted by fear. And if that desire is confronted by fear, what people end up doing is they end up going back to their comfort place. So you have the fear, I mean, you have the comfort, you have the desire, and then you have the fear. If the fear is too high, then you go back to your comfort place, basically. And at the same time, if the desire it was so strong and so intense that you are not able to resist yourself, this is when conflict inside of you start. So in my case, I can always talk about back in the days when, well, even now, when I was in corporate and I wanted to step out of corporate for me to start my entrepreneurial experience. What ended up happening is that I had this desire that I want to become an entrepreneur. I had this desire that I want to, work in the domain of coaching and self-help and self-improvement. But at the same time, I was doing that corporate job, and it was great, and it was everything that many people would kind of imagine. But it served my purpose for the 10 years, and until I got to a stage where I'm conflicted within me. So then I have this pain from the desire, but at the same time, I have a pain that I cannot do that because it's too much risk. I don't know what's going to be on the other side of this corporate job. I don't know if it's going to work or not. So that's why when I say everything that you ever want is on the other side of fear, is when you cross the line of fear, Akemi. So you have the desire, you have the fear. When you cross the line of fear, this is when transformation happens. Now, what do I mean by transformation? The fact and the matter that you stepped out of your comfort zone and you got into something that you were not actually you always wanted to do, like a desire that you've always wanted to happen. Automatically you are in a space that is not the same as before. I give an example again about myself. I was in corporate. I had a full-time job. I was a CFO for South America, and I had my routine and everything that I know, and the way I was living my life, my mindset, everything. And now I stepped out of that. I took that leap of faith. I stepped out of that. And now I am in a space of transformation. I am in a different country, literally. I am doing completely different industry and dealing with many things that are completely different. So automatically, I'm going through the transformation. Now, is this the end game? Perhaps no. Perhaps no. So the end game, I would say, is when you go back to your new comfort. Because when you have your comfort, you have your desire, and then you have fear, and you cross the line of fear to become to the transformation, eventually you're going to have to adapt until you create a new comfort place for you. And that's how eventually you start from fresh, because that's not a circle. It's actually an upward spiral and that's how you grow. You have a desire, then you go through fear, and after fear you transform, and then you have a new comfort, and then you start with another desire, and so on and so forth.
Yes. No, that's the point, because we were talking about taking the first step, and listening to you seems to be so easy, but everybody knows that it's not that easy. But it's only, I think, it has to come inside, and you have to really want that and take this first step, right?
But here's the thing, Akemi, do we have any question from anyone before I make my comment?
Yeah, just Pedro. Pedro, he said, "Oh, nice, thank you, Lohan. That make a lot of sense." And then, hello, Anna, welcome, and Christina also. They just came, and you're all welcome. And so if you want to do any questions, please feel free. So go ahead.
No, it's okay. I wanted to add on top of that, because you said it's not easy, And the one thing that actually I would what would say to people, for you to go from point A to point Z, it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be possible. So you don't do that. What I suggest is go from point A to B, B to C, C to D, and so on and so forth. That's why in the work that I do with people, I don't recommend them to go all of the sudden overnight from this to that. I always work with them to have a sustainable growth, small steps, small incremental steps towards facing your fear, small incremental steps towards facing your, the risk that you want to take, basically. And the point that I'm trying to make, to illustrate what I'm trying to make here, um, when you are going to the gym and you want to become fit and all of that, if you go to the gym every day, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you go to the mirror and you look at yourself in the mirror, you still look the same. You continue to go to the gym every day. After 1 month, 2 months, perhaps you still look the same. But not until 6 months to 1 year, if you go to the gym every day, this is when you start seeing the result. And that's what I mean by
That's true.
small incremental steps. That's what I mean by small
Yeah.
incremental. You can't, going back to what you said, okay, it's easy said than done. I know it's easy said than done. That's why you don't have to do it overnight. Do not do it overnight. You do it as incremental steps.
Yes. No, you're totally right. Little steps. Little
Two
steps by step.
millimeters.
Yeah.
2 millimeters.
Okay. So the next question would be um, so another is another question related to your webinars, but I think people will like to know that you were talking about an experiment that was done on monkeys, and
Mhm.
it has some implication on human behavior. Can you tell
Mhm.
us more about this? Because I think this is quite interesting, and maybe I would like you to share this, please.
Yeah. Okay. No. No worries. Look, it's an interesting one. That one. It was the first experiment that was done, I think, in the early 1900. And what happened? So imagine you have a gaiola or cage, right? And you have a cage, and you have introduced one monkey into that cage. And at the top of the cage, you have a hatch. You can open and close. Okay, at the ceiling. And then from that hatch, there was a ladder coming down from the ceiling. Okay. Every morning, which is part of the experiment, every morning, when they open that hatch and they put down bananas, and the monkey rushes up on the ladder to grab the banana. As the monkey is trying to grab the banana, they hose him down with a high pressure cold water. So they throw high pressure cold water hose on him, and obviously the monkey fall down and he's not feeling comfortable, and it becomes a mess, basically. So they did that for several days. Eventually, the monkey decided to sit in the corner. Even if they're gonna bring down the banana, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to come up, and he just leave it there. The following week, they introduce another monkey. So the same thing. Every morning, they open the hatch, they bring down banana, and they hose the monkey down, basically. And eventually, the same thing. The monkey kept going every day, every day, every day, but bothered from the cold water and whatever. What ended up happening is that the monkey decided, okay, bafankulo, I don't want to get the banana, basically. So, so he sits in the corner. So you have two monkeys sitting in two corners. Now, the third week, they introduce a third monkey. Every day, the same thing. Open the hatch, bring down the banana. But what's happening here is that the two monkeys, they know what's going to happen. And it's becoming really annoying and uncomfortable for them. So when the third monkey is trying to go up the ladder, the other two monkey grab him and beat him up. Every day, the same thing. So the monkey is going up. The two monkeys are holding him down and they're beating him up for him not to go up and take the banana. Now, the third monkey doesn't know what's happening, but all what he knows that if he's going to go up the ladder, he's going to receive some beating basically from other people, right? Isn't that interesting? So what ends up happening? The third monkey sits in the corner. After several weeks, they have taken the two old monkeys and they have introduced gradually, like incrementally, like so they have taken one of the old monkeys and they introduced another monkey, and the same thing. The two monkey were beating up the third monkey, every day, every day. And eventually, all the monkeys are no longer the initial two monkeys of the water hose. So the initial two monkeys of the water, they are no longer there. So what is happening every time they introduce a new monkey, two monkeys grab him and beat him up. And this is how culture is created. This is how culture is created. And what is interesting is that, first of all, we are humans that are sitting, or we are living in a gaiola, in a box, basically, right? In a cage. And there was a culture established in this cage where chances are the people that brought us up doesn't even know where is that culture coming from, or what they know, that this is what needs to be done. These are the tradition. This is what you have to be doing. Do not change. Do not challenge the tradition, or do not challenge the program, because it's a program at the end of the day. That's what it is. And isn't that interesting in a sense? That isn't that similar to how the life works, basically?
Yeah, no, this story is really interesting. This experiment, I mean, because it's not a story, it happens. And poor monkeys, oh my God. And then when I
I
think that
know.
we are almost like them, so poor us.
For us, right? For us.
Yes.
Imagine,
Oh, oh
imagine.
my God. So thank you so much for sharing all this. So we have at least more 5 minutes. And I know
Mhm.
that, oh, hello, Shalom, Irina. They just came in. And if you guys want to make any questions, please feel free. I have another one question. I don't know. We have maybe I don't think so. Maybe we have, because we have only 3 minutes. And oh, Mauricio, hello, Mauricio. Mauricio is the president of Ibrey. He's watching us now.
Mhm. Hello,
So
prazer.
because we are so for people who are watching us, we are going to do a webinar on Thursday, and so if you want to participate, we are going to go deeper into this subject, and so please send me a direct or a message so I can send you the link, because this one needs subscription, because uh, we have limited space. So this, I will leave here the invitation. Mauricio is just saying congratulations on the presentation. Thank you, Mauricio. Thank you very much. And
Thank you,
so
Mauricio.
if you have some final words, so please, would you like to say something else?
Yes, I'm conscious of the time, and please tell me when we have to.
2 minutes,
Um,
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm keeping an eye on the watch. I'm gonna making sure that I'm gonna be careful. Look, at the end of the day, all what I want to say is that, um, yes, everything that you ever want is on the other side of fear. Everything that you ever want is on the other side of fear. And for you to be able to get to what you want in your life, do not go out there and do things radically overnight. Do things in an incremental way, and understand that there is a science behind them. There are people out there that can help and support, or through your own research and experience, you're going to be able to realize that how to do that in a very diligent and agile way, through having the right structure and the steps that needs to be done. That's all what I want to say. Thank you so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure. Please follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. I do a lot of activities in terms of webinars, podcasts, and other content that I get to share.
Thank you so much, Lohan, for all this knowledge and for all this lecture you just gave to us. And see you soon. So have a good morning for you, because you're just starting your
Good day
day.
for me.
Good day.
Yes, yes,
Yes, yes.
yes, yes.
So, and thank you everybody for watching. I hope you like it. Okay. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Ciao.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.